Let's talk about the most sensitive organ in the body. In the school we were taught heart is like this. Then in the college we were taught heart is like this. But when we come to medical college, the teachers tell it is neither like this. They put a cross on this study, and we come to know that heart is like this. This horizontal line, which used to draw separating the atria and ventricles, actually it runs like this. Okay. This vertical line, which was almost running at 90 degrees, runs like this. Okay. But before going to the heart, we will talk about the covering of the heart, and that is the pericardium. So pericardium, like there is pleura for the lungs, there is pericardium for the heart, there is peritoneum for abdominal organs. But then how is the pericardium different from pleura and peritoneum? There are two layers: fibrous pericardium and serous pericardium. So normally we used to always talk about visceral layer and parietal layer, but here we talk about fibrous pericardium and serous pericardium. Serous pericardium has two layers: parietal and visceral. The heart, which I had drawn for all of you some time back, was like this. Okay, where the base of the heart is on the top and apex is down. Base of the heart is on the top, apex is down. Fibrous pericardium is exactly opposite. The base of the fibrous pericardium is down and apex is on the top. Talking only about fibrous pericardium, right? So inside this fibrous pericardium is the heart. This is like this. Okay. So why this apex is like this? Because the vessels which are arising initially, ascending aorta and all, they will be part of this inside, covered by the fibrous pericardium. Okay. Now this is the heart inside the pericardium, and now we will talk about, so this outer layer is fibrous pericardium, this is the heart. Inside the fibrous pericardium is the parietal layer, and in contact with the heart is visceral layer. So this is parietal and this is visceral. Okay, so there is one fibrous pericardium which on the inner side is covered by parietal pericardium of the serous layer, and heart is covered by visceral pericardium of the serous layer. In between is pericardial cavity. So cavity means there will be pericardial fluid, and this fluid, there can be excess fluid, and this can lead to pericardial effusion. This can lead to pericardial effusion. Am I clear up to this point? Now, since last few days, you must have realized I have started teaching you embryology also. Because I took Viva for some of the students and I realized embryology, okay, talking about MBBS students from other batches also. There are two weaker areas in every medical student's first year life. One is embryology, second is histology. Genetics is for options, so therefore I am not considering that only. So I thought we'll start focusing on these two areas also. So I'll talk about the development of pericardium tube. Septum transversum. All of you remember septum transversum taught to you. The cranial most area, the septum transversum. This septum transversum is actually above the cardiac area. Above the cardiac area. And that actually descends down like this. Okay, down. So actually the nerve supplying the septum transversum was phrenic nerve, which was going like this. Now septum transversum descended down. Descended down. So now this nerve pierces the diaphragm and supplies it. Therefore, अभी देखो phrenic nerve is destined to supply diaphragm. डायफ्राम इधर है तो phrenic nerve ऊपर से आ रही तो उसको ऐसा ही यही सप्लाई thoracic it can supply from the thoracic side, but it pierces the diaphragm and then supplies. So somebody may ask you ऐसा क्यों है? Because initially the diaphragm which is formed from the septum transversum is in the cranial area. So the nerve was going like this. Nerve supplying diaphragm. What is the this thing root value of that nerve? What is the root value? C2. The root value is C2, C3. Now diaphragm is here. C1, C2 is here. So why should a nerve from here go here? Because it was septum transversum contributes to formation of diaphragm, which was in cranial area. So C1, C2 was supplying it. Then it diaphragm descended along with the heart. Yesterday we discussed how it displaced the bronchopulmonary segments, which were medial and lateral, and they became superior and inferior on the left side. So medial and lateral. So as it is descending, the nerve supply was like this. Now it goes down. Nerve supply, you cannot cut it off and again put it from this side. So now therefore phrenic nerve pierces the diaphragm and supplies it from the inferior surface. Otherwise phrenic nerve coming from the top should have supplied the diaphragm on the superior surface. Okay, anybody who is not understanding what I am talking about, except for the newcomers. Okay. So now we talk about the things derived from septum transversum, and that can be shown in a very nice diagram. The horizontal component and the vertical component. Horizontal component forms the central tendon of diaphragm. I am talking about things developing from septum transversum. Septum transversum gives rise to some structures which are horizontally placed and some structures which are vertical. Horizontal is central tendon of diaphragm. So what about the other part of the diaphragm? It develops from body wall. Therefore, it is central part is supplied by phrenic nerve, peripheral part is supplied by intercostal nerves. And one more thing we had discussed about diaphragm, contributing to development of diaphragm. Pleuroperitoneal membranes. We talked about pericardioperitoneal canals and they get cut off by pleuroperitoneal membrane. So why now we have realized three things that are forming diaphragm. One, septum transversum, forming the central tendon of diaphragm. Two, body wall. Three, pleuroperitoneal membranes. And fourth is mesentery of esophagus. Mesentery of esophagus. These four things form the diaphragm. Again, I am going to come back to it when we talk about the diaphragm. Right now we are talking about septum transversum and things derived from septum transversum. Horizontal part gives rise to central tendon of diaphragm. Vertical component above the diaphragm gives rise to fibrous pericardium. Fibrous pericardium. Below the diaphragm, septum transversum gives rise to Gleason's capsule of the liver. Gleason's capsule of the liver. Three things derived from septum transversum. One, horizontal. Joseph, horizontal, central tendon of diaphragm. Above the diaphragm, fibrous pericardium. Below the diaphragm, Gleason's capsule. Now let's talk about the development of parietal peritoneum. Parietal peritoneum develops from the somatofluoric disorder. Visceral pericardium, so that what I said peritoneum. Parietal pericardium develops from somatofluoric layer of the disorder, intraembryonic disorder. Visceral develops from splanchnothelic. Okay. So fibrous pericardium will have its blood supply, nerve supply along with the parietal layer from the body wall. Body wall, or rather, I would not say body wall, from the vessels and nerves which are supplying the somatic areas. While visceral pericardium will have its blood supply and nerve supply same as heart. This applied to lung also. Parietal pleura was from intercostal mass, and visceral pleura was from bronchial arteries. Okay. Now there are some spaces inside the pericardium. There are some spaces inside the pericardium. Now you are looking at the pericardium from the side. Okay, so this is the base of the heart. Like there were two recesses. In the pleura. What were they? Costodiaphragmatic recess, costomediastinal recess. There are two recesses, spaces in the pericardium. Now suppose this is the left atrium, which is behind. Left atrium is behind in the heart. There is a space behind the left atrium. Left atrium lies posteriorly. I will be talking about the heart in details. But as of now, we are looking from the side. This is posterior. This is anterior. So when you remove the heart, or before rather removing the heart, put your hand at the inferior surface of the heart, on the inferior surface of the heart, and put it behind, and you will find yourself in a space called as the oblique sinus of the pericardium. Oblique sinus of the pericardium. Left atrium needs space in case of increased venous return. Increased venous return will require space to expand. There is space beyond here. Okay. Another sinus is the transverse sinus. So this, after we remove the heart, we are looking at the pericardium. Okay. And these are the pulmonary veins. Okay. And the ascending aorta, SVC is here. So here we find another space called as the transverse sinus. Not the SVC. The pulmonary trunk is here. So that is the transverse sinus. Okay, so there are two sinuses. One, when we look from the top, we can see, which is behind the ascending aorta and the pulmonary trunk. This is behind the ascending aorta and the pulmonary trunk, and the SVC, IVC will be here. So basically, this transverse sinus separates the arteries arising from the heart and SVC and pulmonary veins which are entering the heart. So blood taken away from the heart by pulmonary trunk and ascending aorta, and blood coming to the heart by pulmonary veins and SVC and IVC. So these two areas are separated by a space called transverse sinus. Significance of this space is during cardiac operations, if you want to ligate one of these vessels, we put our needle in the transverse sinus, okay, and try to stop the activity of any vessel which we want. So that space was created by God for cardiac surgeries. Okay. Blood supply of the heart. So that coronary arteries will also supply the visceral pericardium. But blood supply of the fibrous pericardium will not be by coronaries. It will be by, you will come across pericardial branches of pericardiophrenik branches of, they may arise from the descending thoracic aorta, some of them come from the internal thoracic artery. Okay, so that will be the blood supply. Nerve supply again will be by phrenic nerve for the parietal and fibrous pericardium. So the cardiac nerve will supply the visceral pericardium. Okay. The applied anatomy of pericardium, between the two layers of the pericardium, there can be fluid accumulation, which is called as pericardial effusion. What is the problem in pericardial effusion? The heart is not able to expand. Heart has to expand to receive blood from the SVC and IVC during the systole. The heart will not be able to expand. It will be able to contract but not able to expand. So that leads to insufficient blood supply all over the body. Okay, pericardial effusion is a big complication, but then you can put a needle, remove the fluid. Tuberculosis. Tuberculosis, which is one of the prevalent disease in India, it can cause pericardial effusion also. So you can just save a patient by doing that fluid and his heart starts functioning properly, giving treatment of tuberculosis. Many other reasons are there. Tuberculosis is one of them. With that brief idea about pericardium, we move on to the heart. We are already one session ahead, but still lots to be discussed in the heart, and we are yet to discuss the transverse sections in thorax. There are two transverse sections in thorax which have to be discussed. One at the level of T4, another at the level of T5, and lower down also, which are asked in the exams. So now starting with the anatomy of the heart.